Hey, Gluten Free Badass, how are you? I am so glad we're here together. We're gonna bake. We are gonna make outstanding cookies. And we had this wonderful idea from our good friend Allison, who said, how about we do, like we bake together, step by step. So what I decided is excellent. And we have this wonderful cookie book from Wheat Energies. And what do when we get a recipe that is full of gluten, but we want to make a substitute? Can we really follow the rest of the recipe to the letter? And the answer is, with this one, yes, we totally can. So please ask questions as we go along. Whether you brought the ingredients or not, we can still learn together. And I look forward to hearing about you. What's going on with your holidays, and how are you? These are all things I really want to know. All right, so let's start with, as the recipe goes, we're basically going to follow this recipe exactly. And the ingredients have been listed in the email I sent you, as well as on the Facebook page. And so we're going to just follow that recipe, and all we're substituting is flour. And we'll talk about why we're using those specific flours. All right, so let's start with, we got to microwave some chocolate and some butter. So get a microwavable bowl, all right? And you're going to take 4 ounces of chocolate chips. Okay, nice and easy. Pour those in. You're also going to take a 1/4 cup of butter, which is a 1/2 cup of butter. All right, we're going to put that in. Meanwhile, so what's going on? What's a favorite holiday cookie that you like to bake? This one's relatively new for us, this Crinkle cookie. I was always willing to eat other people's, but very interested in how would that work for us, especially being gluten-free? All right, so I got butter on my fingers, so take this, and you know what? You're gonna be able to just see me pop right over there. We're gonna start with 30 seconds, and always like to see, we don't wanna scorch our butter and our chocolate, okay? So let's go put that in our microwave. All right, dun-dun-dun. All right, and while that goes for 30 seconds, all right, so some of our favorite cookies are, we like the butter cookies or sugar cookies, either one of them, and putting some really good frosting on them. I actually think chocolate chip cookies fit any time of the year. I like the little Russian tea cakes where it's the nuts inside covered in powdered sugar. And given that today has powdered sugar, I think we can say I like powdered sugar. How about you? All right, so let's take a look and see where that's at. And let's see where yours is at too, okay? All right, so let's look. So here's what it looks like right now. We actually don't want to over melt it. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take the heat that we just created, and we are going to stir that up. And so please do that yourself also. All right, now in terms of the chocolate, the recipe actually said unsweetened chocolate. You can use pretty much any kind of chocolate you want. I just always like chocolate chips because they're there, right? They're usually available. I've got them in the cupboard, and why not just use those? But you can do unsweetened if you want. You could do dark chocolate chips if you really like a deep chocolate cookie. All right. So the thing is we don't want this to curdle our eggs when it adds to it. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna stir it. You can see it's nice and smooth. And once you're done stirring yours, we can put that. Hello, Emily. Thank you for joining us today. We're glad to have you. All right, so put this to the side so it can just kind of cool a little bit and not get too hot. All right, so the next part of the recipe is that we need to add 3 eggs, dark brown, or any kind of brown sugar, and vanilla to our mixer. So you can, again, use a stand mixer, or you could use a bowl with a hand, with one of those little small hand mixers, which I do like. You can do either one. All right, so in terms of our eggs, let's get our 3 eggs. Let's crack them in. All right, now, I am a big fan of making our own flour mix. I know for myself, I'm getting more and more excited and comfortable to see what is, what kind of combinations work. And I have kind of now what I have a favorite chocolate combination. So if I'm gonna make a substitute and make my own flour mix for a chocolate dish or chocolate recipe, I know my key components, and we'll talk about that. I always like dark brown sugar. You can use light brown sugar. So you wanna put in 1.5 cups of that into your mixer. And of course, we want our vanilla. Let's put that in too. So the key thing usually when making gluten-free cookies, you do not want it to blend up for too long. You just want to get everything combined because we don't want to get too much air in there. Air lifts things up and then they collapse because there's no gluten to hold it in place. All right, so let's take a moment and stir it up, and then we're going to scrape it and stir it a little more. All right, so maybe we'll just give it about 10 seconds. Let's see until things start to get combined. And I have it on 2. All right, so just get it a little oomph, get it stirring for us. I left my spatula across the kitchen, so hold on one second. Maybe it'll give you time to get your spatula. Got it. All right, so scrape the sides, all right, so that it's nice, so you get all your ingredients in there that you want. And it's gonna be pretty soupy. It is a lot of eggs, which is good. We like those, we like that flavor and that protein in it. Let's turn it back on, okay? All right, so again, I put it on number 2. Let's just give it a moment to blend a touch more. All right, so I'm gonna show you what it looks like so we can make sure we're on the same page together, okay? All right, so here is what mine looks like, okay? It's a nice egg and brown sugar soup. All right, now, next we want to be able to add, just double checking I'm doing this in the right order. Yes, wonderful, since it's someone else's recipe. Now take your chocolate, give it a good stir. Now pour all that chocolate and butter into your egg and brown sugar mixture. All right, let's get that all in. All right, so once you get that in there, let's stir it up again. And what we're gonna try to do is just get it blended in general, okay? So again, put it on number 2 and let's give it another maybe 10 to 15 seconds. How's your week been so far? Mine's been full. I kind of feel like it's Friday instead of a Wednesday because that much has happened. But that's okay because then that means over the weekend, perhaps I have less to do, which is always a good thing. All right, so now again, we have a little bit of a nice liquidy mixture, but now it looks very chocolatey, which is excellent. That's how yours should look too. All right. So now let's talk about our flours, okay? Let's add in all our different flours and our salt and our leavening. All right, so to begin with, in an ideal world, if you have teff flour, teff, so take a good look at that. Teff flour is basically teff seeds, which is a gluten-free seed. It is ground up into a flour, and it has like a nice kind of earthy, woodsy tone to it, and it's really good with chocolate. Love it with chocolate. So let's add that. Now, if you don't have it, right, because it might take a trip to the grocery store, or I bought mine on, Amazon, and it takes a day or 2 to get it shipped, you can just use brown rice flour. And the reason I say brown rice flour is because the teff is a whole grain. And if we're gonna make a substitute, hey Allison, how are you? Where you found teff at where? I can see part of that, but not the whole thing. Okay, sorry. We can see, we found teff, which is good. I'm sure everyone else can read that, which is awesome. But you want to replace a whole grain with a whole grain, right? You have that protein, you have that fiber. That is definitely providing the kind of structure you want. Oh yes, I usually get my teff at Woodman's too. They were out recently, so that's why I had to go online. All right, we still though want to put some brown rice flour in, whether we have, teff or not. That's a whole nother just layer, because again, a little more structure is good. But now we want our tenderness. All right, so let's start with a little bit of cornstarch, okay? Cornstarch, I find it fascinating, right? It thickens, but yet it also makes things tender, which is a lovely dual combo that it's willing to offer us. Then we also want sweet white rice flour. We also want white rice flour, okay? We want both, okay? So the white rice flour is just a kind of a nice neutral flour that is, again, provides some nice softness, but it also, but it's not very starchy. And again, the sweet white rice flour, it's almost like if you had to think of it, and that's why it's a good substitute, it's kind of a combination of white rice flour and starch. And so if you don't have sweet white rice flour, you can just put in half, regular white rice flour and cornstarch. They work together very, very nicely. All right, so we're gonna put those in. We of course want cocoa because we also like We don't just want the regular chocolate, we want the cocoa because we want this to be deep, dark, and fabulous. Then we have all of our different aspects. So you've got your baking soda, baking powder, and then I ran out of little glass bowls, so I've also put the salt in there. So let's pour those in right now too, okay? All right, so an interesting thing before we start blending here, because I want you to be able to hear this. So what I found really fascinating in this recipe is when it called for 1 cup of all-purpose flour, and we're actually putting in about 1.25 cups of different kinds of flours. And that's because when I put in like the cup, originally it just was too runny. And I thought keeping those eggs in there, the amount of butter, the amount of melted chocolate, those were really good levels. So let's just add a little bit more gluten-free flour. So that's what we did. So we're basically putting the equivalent of 1.25 cups in once we put all those other flours in there. So I think a big aspect of this is rarely is there a 1-to-1 like substitute ratio, but if you experiment and have fun doing that, you're able to create the amount that you really need. And you figure it out, and I don't think that's a bad thing to eat stuff that's not quite perfect in the spirit of science. All right, so let's turn this on, okay? Let's put it on. Let's put it on 1, because if we put it on 2, everything will just start flying up at us. So let's start with 1. All right. What might be some cookie recipes that you haven't converted yet to gluten-free, but would really like to? I would love to help you do that. All right, so let's take a minute. Let's scrape the sides. And if you're making it right now, I bet you can smell all that cocoa and just how delectable and delicious it smells, and it's just enticing you, right? It's calling you. It's saying, lick the batter now, or lick the spatula, which we will, right? What's wrong with that? Let's trust it. I think eating batter throughout the process is extremely important, at least for, one's happiness to one's soul. All right, let's give it a little bit more. Okay. And just to make sure everything's all stirred up. Now, mine's all stirred up. Is yours? If not, just, again, you can scrape and give it a little bit, but we do not want to overmix this. So you might have saw, I don't even think we probably spent 20 seconds in mixing it up both times. And that's super important. All right, now I want to show you something really important here. Speaking of important. All right, give me just a second. It is really important that before you start forming the dough into little balls and dipping them in I was about to grab this, and dipping them in the powdered sugar, you have to let it sit for 30 minutes in the refrigerator. And I'm going to show you why. All right, so if I take this is what I've already pre-made. Look at this, right? Now part of it is because it is chilled a little bit, but the biggest part is something that Allison and I were talking about recently, is you have to let the grains absorb some of the moisture. So what kind of moisture am I talking about? All right, if you're making this right now, you can see just how it's not totally runny, but it's definitely a lot runnier than this, okay? And what we want to get to is this. And so if you let it, so first of all, the refrigeration will help kind of bring everything together, but also you want to let all those different grains open up and absorb some of that wonderful moisture, because then what that's going to give you later is a really tender, soft, chewable cookie that isn't dry or brittle or fall apart on you. So sometimes we just have to process things a little differently for gluten-free. We can't do it the exact same way that we did when we were making gluten stuff, but it still comes out with the best result at the end. We just kind of have to have fun and be creative. All right, so let me show you what you need to do, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna basically get to the point here until, put your dough into the refrigerator. Feel free to go do that now. Feel free then to bring out a beverage for yourself, because you now have 30 minutes. And why not take that 30 minutes to sit, put your feet up, have a beverage, and just think about how fabulous you are, because you are. Okay, so parchment paper. You can use oh, what am I trying to say here? The tin foil, like the non-stick tin foil, you can do that. It does crisp the bottoms a little, like if you really like a crispy bottom, do that. If you want just a semi-crispy bottom, use this, okay? And because, you know, I own a food business, I have like giant sheets of it that I can just cut up. But I really love these things that they call like pop-ups that you can get at stores, and like just rip it out, put it on your pan, now you got yourself some. Oh gosh, Allison, I think licking the spatula is a super important part of the whole process. I totally agree. Now, you have a choice on what size that you want to make your cookies. You can use a tablespoon, or you can use a half tablespoon. I tend to like these cookies kind of cute and small. Let's look at these here so you can see them. Cute and small. That's the half tablespoon. If you want them a little bigger, do the whole tablespoon. Either way, you'll be fine. Meanwhile, do make sure that while you're having your beverage and relaxing, that you have your oven preheating to 350. All right. Now, for the smaller cookies, you're going to bake them about 5 minutes. Now, everyone's oven is a little different. Temperatures can fluctuate. Be sure to just kind of look at them and just poke one like at the top a little bit. And if it like really like goes down, it's not ready. Okay. But you also don't want it firm as a rock. It's like kind of like you just touch it and it's like, oh, okay. If I let that sit, it's got some firmness to it. If I let it sit on the counter here on a wire rack on my pan, you know, it will firm itself up. Okay. So again, make one batch, make one pan and see, you know, how it works for you. All right. So when your stuff comes out of the fridge, pull this out. Okay. And you will take it out of your spoon and you will roll it into a happy little ball. Okay. So a little ball. Then we're going to take our powdered sugar and we're going to roll that. This is another thing that really I think you could just dip your finger in. Eat it. Now, of course, if you're going to go sell these, you wouldn't want to do that. But if it's just your family, quite frankly, they're used to that. So you just keep going ahead and do that. Nice and, you know, covered. I would say I rolled it around a couple times, so it has a couple layers on it. And you're just going to keep doing that. And you're going to cover them. And they don't spread much, okay? So you can see here. Let's look at those comparisons, right? So, you know, just put them about 2 inches apart from each other. Social distancing for our cookies in yet another way. God help us. Ooh, who else is excited about vaccines? I am so excited that like we might be over. Things could be over this year. I'm in, people. And if, that's all I have to say. I'm so excited. Okay, let's look at that. I'm also excited about holidays. I love the time, just the extra time and the traditions. That is so nice. All right, there we go. All right, so you're just gonna keep doing that and you'll put them in the oven, you'll take them out, you're gonna put them on, again, like I said, a wire rack. Let them finish baking on the pan. Don't take them off and put them on the rack right away. They just need a little extra heat. And then what you're gonna get in the end, as you've seen this now several times, I am so happy with these. First of all, I appreciate this bakery in the book giving such a great initial recipe. And now we can add our own gluten-free flour to it with no xanthan gum. No need for that at all. So it's so deep and rich chocolatey. But then it has this beautiful texture. From what I remember years ago, being able to eat the regular cookies, this is a perfect match. And then there's just a wonderful sugar on top of it. The cookie itself isn't that sweet, but once you add the sugar on top of it, oh, perfect combination. All right, so a couple thoughts. If you have any follow-up questions, you know where to reach me. Just type it out, send me an email, send it in Facebook, go for it. When you make these and they turn out, send me pictures. Now, if they like end up being a total disaster, which they shouldn't, but just in case, let's talk it through. What could, maybe we should be doing different, what maybe could be different in your kitchen than my kitchen, and how do we like problem solve that? Okay, let's find solutions. The other aspect too is if they turned out wonderful, show me a picture of you eating a ton of them. Oh my gosh, so the batter is, I can't quite, I'm sorry, hold on, gotta get the glasses on here. But Alice said, oh, it's delicious. Yes, Excellent. I would agree. The batter is very good. And feel free just to send pictures of you just eating spoonfuls of the batter. I think I'll just do that right now. Why not? And thumbs up if you like batter even more than you like the actual cookie. It's always hard for me to choose. All right, my friends. As usual, it has been perfect to hang out with you. If you like this, let me know. We can do more recipes side by side together in the future. Appreciate Allison suggesting it and bringing it up. And just remember, you are absolutely a gift to this world. Do not ever compromise on being you. And just have a wonderful Christmas. Actually, no, I'm going to see you the 23rd. Have a wonderful week. We'll be back next week since this one was a little off schedule. And would love to hang out with you. We're gonna make another really cool recipe out of here. It's the one with the little gingerbread cups that looks like it has hot cocoa in it. That is fabulous. And again, another new flour mixture that uses sorghum that is perfect with the ginger flavor and is wonderful, like with just the butteriness. Okay, love you. Take care.